Well, I gotta begin with my own confession this morning, and I'm not sure exactly where this comes from. It's probably been building up over the last weeks and months as we've kind of gone through this time of pandemic and all of the upset that has brought to our lives. I have to confess that I am highly conflicted. I have very, very conflicted feelings about Facebook. Okay? And I'm not talking about the politics of Facebook. I'm not talking about any of that kind of stuff right now. What I'm talking about is just the words and images there on the pages of Facebook. I'm highly conflicted about them. On the one hand, they give such wonderful insights into people's worlds. I know. I have my own little Facebook page, and I go there and put stuff on it maybe once or twice a year. I'm not a heavy user. I'm not a professional at this, okay? But I do go and look and see what people are doing and what's going on in their life and what their cat is up to. I see a lot of stuff, so it does give me a little insight into people's worlds and what's going on in their lives. And that's been very handy during this time of pandemic. So that's one side of my feelings about Facebook. On the other hand, I've come to realize, because I know a lot of these people, that what I'm seeing there is highly selective. It's just like a partial picture. It's not the reality of who these people really are. And that creates within me a little bit of conflict about how we can utilize social media in such a way to hide who we really are from one another. It's not reality, because I know you, and you know me. Now, not to get too down on social media, because, like I said, it does some wonderful things. But if I'm conflicted about Facebook, I'm even more conflicted about Instagram, which is like my daughter's favorite way of communicating her life to the world. Or should I say, a version of her life. And I can say that because I see my daughter's Instagram, and I know a lot of that is not the whole picture. It's a version of oneself in pictures. And because it's a snapshot in time, and you can do all sorts of things with those pictures, that presentation of oneself is so easily distorted and detached from a person's real life. It's almost like you can have a parallel life that's not really who you are on Instagram. Both Facebook and Instagram place us at the center of the universe. Whether it's the real us, or some creation of who we are, or some parallel self, whatever it is, in the end they place us, you and I, at the center of the universe. It's like we're saying, look at me, look at my life. And now don't even get me started about Twitter or dating apps, because I have friends who have had professionals curate their life for Twitter and dating apps. And I often ask them, well, what about when you actually meet someone face to face? And they say, that's not the point. The point is to be someone different and to have someone interested in me. Look at me. Look at my life, even if it's a fantasy. And so into this social media mess comes John the Baptist today. And you know what? John the Baptist, also long ago, 2,000 years or more, he was able to change the world without a Facebook page or an Instagram account or a Twitter account or even a dating app. And he did so without pointing to himself, but to someone else. So I want you to listen to just a little bit of the story again that comes from John. The gospel tells us that a man came as a witness to testify to the light. He himself was not the light. So right at the very beginning of the story, we are being told that it's about someone else, not John the Baptist. Now, a hilarious dialogue follows, and there are some folks sent from important people in Jerusalem who come to John out there baptizing by the River Jordan, and they say, "Who are you?" And he just continues to try to point the camera away from himself. "I'm not the Messiah," he says. "Are you Elijah?" "No." "The prophet?" "No." He keeps trying to push the camera somewhere else. "Who are you then?" they ask. "Let's have an answer for those who sent us. What do you say about yourself?" They keep trying to point the camera there. And so finally he says, John does, "I'm a lonely voice talking about God." Or in John's own words, "I'm the voice of one crying out in the wilderness, make straight the way of the Lord." If you are a nobody, the representatives from the important people ask, and if you're a nobody, then why are you out here doing this stuff? "I'm out here doing this stuff," John replies, "because it's not about me. It's about the one I'm pointing to." It is an amazing message from one so long ago that might be helpful for us in our day. To turn our attention away from ourselves for a moment and to someone and something a little bit bigger and a little bit more important than we are. And that message of John the Baptist got me thinking about all those people during this time of pandemic whose lives, whose lived experiences and their daily deeds point to something beyond themselves, to something bigger, to something better. And so I've been thinking about employees at Starbucks who are there being in public day in and day out, masked up, gloves on, who are trying to bring a little bit of normalcy to people's lives. Not because they're in it for their own grandeur, but because they're about pointing to something bigger. A little bit of normalcy, even if it comes in a cup of coffee. I've been thinking about grocery store workers and teachers, school administrators and first responders, police officers, construction workers, restaurant and bar employees when they could be open, and now that they're closed, owners of those same establishments who are trying to bring to all of us a little bit of normal in the midst of this crazy, topsy-turvy time that we live in. John the Baptist, people all, pointing to something beyond themselves. People cutting hair or doing nails. Docs and nurses and technicians and clinics and hospitals. Veterinarians. And even activists out on the street trying to say there's something bigger going on here, folks. Amazon delivery people. Those who work in warehouses, stacking and moving and unbundling and preparing shipments that arrive at our doorsteps. Postal workers, FedEx and UPS drivers, parents. Parents just trying to keep it together long enough to get their kids' hair combed, their teeth brushed, some food in their belly so that they can sit in front of the computer screen every single day and learn something. And then exhausted, drag themselves off to their own work. These are people who are pointing to something bigger than just themselves. And their presence and their actions, as I said, create some sense of normal in the midst of this abnormal year, and point us maybe in hope toward a time past this pandemic, toward a time when people actually get vaccinated, a needle stuck in their shoulder, and enough of us have that happen so that we begin to shift into the lives we are all hoping for, whatever they are going to look like. You know, I've been thinking about those who leave home every Sunday morning, and I counted 40 Sundays in a row now. 40 people who leave home to help us have worship. I say thank you to these people every single Sunday. To those who connect us to the internet, Jan, to Tia, who just, tells me what to do so I don't look like a fool every Sunday after Sunday. To Susan, who sits here and makes sure that if I fall over, she can take the reins of it. To Brian, who comes and plays, and Katie, and Elisa, Christy, Josh, Ann, Kirsten. If there was a whole crowd of us here, you could all be shouting out more and more, Emmy! All sorts of people. 40 Sundays in a row who have left the bubble of their own home and the safety of it to come and lead worship. People who point beyond themselves to something bigger. Those who do this are not asking you to look at them. I'm certainly not asking you to look at me. But we are all here doing what we do and saying what we say in order to be little John the Baptists, trying to point to something bigger than ourselves. We're trying to point to a time of restoration, of hope. Or as Anne read and the psalmist says, when the Lord restored the fortunes of Zion, then we were like those who dream. How many of our dreams lately have been filled with pictures of what life might be like at some point in the future? Then was our mouth filled with laughter, Anne said, and our tongue with shouts of joy. Then all these nations started talking. Hey, look, the Lord has done great things for them. And we respond, yeah, the Lord has done great things for us. We are glad indeed. That's the hope that John the Baptist and all the John the Baptist people during this time of pandemic are bringing to us. Point to the one who is beyond us, who breaks into our lives and does great things. The one that we know in Jesus, who in just a few weeks will celebrate his birth and lying there in a manger and God being present with us. It's a beautiful moment when someone or something bigger than ourselves breaks into our Instagram and Facebook lives and says, look, it's really not about you. It's about me restoring you to something beautiful and good and true. And hearing that word of something more than just your own self-publicity, hearing the word that there's something beyond that going on is so freeing. It's not about us creating parallel or alternate lives, about trying to make ourselves bigger than we really are. It's about hearing a word that we're loved, that we're cared for, and that we're okay just the way we are. Not airbrushed, not posed, just the way we are when we all wake up in the morning and look in the mirror and go, oh, Eve. And God loves even that person, each and every one of us. I remember in my junior year of high school when that word in its own weird way broke into my life. I was at a holiday basketball tournament. I was in the stage band. I was playing my trombone, and my friend Pete, who played trombone next to me, said, hey, I'm dating this girl, and her sister's kind of into you, kind of likes you. You want to meet her? And all of a sudden, this word broke into me. really? And, well, at least for a couple years in high school, my junior and senior year, really changed my life. That's what I'm talking about. Not really dating your high school sweetheart, but God breaking into your life with a word like Pete's word to me, hey, come on, let's go up and sit together and see if something sparks. That's all God is doing through John the Baptist, is inviting something to spark in our lives. That's what John is doing. That's what we're doing when we light those Advent candles week after week. We are saying God is sparking something in our lives, and that hopeful future is getting closer. And we are the ones who get to live into it. And so this day, this third Sunday of Advent, I invite you with all the joy that you can conjure up from memories of your first date, I want you to rejoice and know that something bigger is going on. And that something bigger is God's love poured out for each and every one of us in and through Christ, poured out for us just the way we are. Amen.